everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. You know, I'm dressed for the week because we are getting ready for the golf tournament here in Augusta. But we thought it would be fun today to share some recipes that we're going to be making next week. So the first recipe that we're going to do highlights our ingredient choice for this week. Southern ingredients, sour cream and butter. We're going to do a sour cream muffin. If you're scared of bread, this is going to be the perfect recipe for you to make some homemade bread for your family. Then we're going to do a beef stroganoff with a brown rice that is absolutely scrumptious. I think you're going to love it. Great for any time of year. And then finally, one of the layer cakes that's going to be presented this week during the tournament is the Choco-Latte layer cake. It's one of our absolute favorites. In Veras Corner today, we're going to go over the different types of mushrooms and what to use them in cooking. So we got a lot to do and I'm ready to get started on these sour cream muffins. All right, so the sour cream muffins. This recipe is in the first cookbook that's actually 5 years old right now. I cannot believe it. We have just had the best time celebrating that book and all the recipes in it. But this recipe belonged to my Aunt Libba in Macon. And I remember thinking that her muffins, if we went to her house for Sunday lunch after church, I always thought, oh, I hope Aunt Libba makes those wonderful muffins. I had no idea how easy the recipe was. But as I got into college and started cooking, I thought, you know, that people will think that I'm really smart because I know how to make bread. So if you're really looking for a great bread recipe that's no fail, that has ingredients that you probably already have in your pantry and your refrigerator, this is it. So I've measured my self-rising flour. I've gone ahead and sprayed my 24-hold muffin pan. So that it's just a bite-sized muffin. It's just the perfect thing to do. I've melted my butter. I'm going to go ahead and add that in. And then I'm just using a spatula with this. But you know, honestly, when I'm in a hurry at home, I just use my hands. So this is just incorporation of these three ingredients. And then the ingredient of today, these two ingredients, sour cream and butter, are part of our focus on Southern ingredients this season. And certainly for me, so many of our Southern recipes maybe have too much butter in it, but this recipe for sure is just a really great representation of how these two ingredients incorporated into self-rising flour make the most mouth-watering muffin you have ever tasted. All right, so anytime you're working with flour and you're making bread, you want to, you know, actually just take it gently. You don't want to stir too much because the more you work the dough, the less moisture you'll have in the actual finished product. So once I feel like I've gotten all the ingredients incorporated, then I'm going to actually use a cookie scoop today to put that into the pan. If you don't have one, you can just use a spoon. All right, well, I think that's pretty well mixed together. So let's get the process going. So cookie scoop, and I'll even that off. And then it just goes in the muffin pan. So, you know, one of my thoughts about this is, you know, when you're looking for things that when your young person wants to start getting into the kitchen and what can they do without making a huge mess and feeling successful at the end, this would be the perfect recipe for that. These are going to bake in a 325-degree oven for about 20 minutes. And we actually used to sell these in our store here in Augusta in our retail days that you could come in to pick up, but you could also order them online. So we'll get these finished and in the oven, and when we come back, we're gonna get started on the beef stroganoff with the brown rice, and just that rice recipe you're gonna love for many occasions. So I'll see you back after the break. Welcome back, everybody. And if you're just joining me, you know, we're getting ready for the tournament in Augusta, and we are really, really busy. And I'm going to showcase today some of the recipes that we're going to be making next week, and I'm so excited. We've already gone ahead and done the sour cream muffins. They just smell so good. And honestly, it's one of those comfort foods for me because it was my Aunt Libba's recipe, and as a young girl, I thought, she's the only person I know that knows how to make bread that's this moist and delicious. So I can't wait for you to try that recipe. It's so easy. All right, so we've done that, and this now is the beef stroganoff that's served over a delicious brown rice. And we're incorporating two southern ingredients, butter and sour cream. And certainly we're noted in this area to use a lot of both of those, but hopefully you'll see in this recipe just how much this adds to the flavor of this beef in this recipe. All right, so what I did in advance was I took a ribeye steak, and I need about 2 pounds to make this recipe. And ribeye really is a great beef choice for this because there's marbling in it. The marbling adds more flavor to the beef. And so what you want to do is just pat it down with the mallet. So it's, you know, it's a good 1/3 to 1/2 inch thick. And then you're going to cut that into strips. Then I salt and peppered it. And then I put a little bit of vegetable oil in this pan and just seared it on both sides for just about 30 seconds aside because it will continue to cook when we have all the other ingredients. So now what I've done, oh, and you're probably wondering what in the world this towel is on top of the stove. So I love to showcase this feature about my induction cooktop by Wolf. This is a tea towel that's going to keep all this splatter from going all over the surface. And because this is operated with a magnet type of heat induction, the heat goes right through the towel and doesn't burn it. So then I can just wipe this up and throw that in the washing machine. So I love this. Just remember, don't try this at home unless you have one, but certainly I suggest that you go to their website and learn more about this piece of equipment. It's one of my favorites. All right, so we've got this ready. Now we're going to turn this up. What I've done is, and I'm starting to loosen up where I've already cooked the beef because that's going to make this gravy extra good. All right, I'm going to add in my Vidalia onions. And I'm going to boost this up a little bit. The other nice feature of this induction cooktop is it will get hot fast when you hit that boost feature. So these are going to cook down until they're golden. But just to speed this up just a little bit for you guys, I'm going to go ahead, because I've turned this up high, and I'm going to go ahead and add my mushrooms in. So these are little baby portobellos. They're so flavorful. And you know, in Vera's Corner today, we're going to talk a little bit more about mushrooms because there's so many different varieties, and maybe you haven't experimented yet with anything other than just a button mushroom. So that'll be interesting for you as well. All right, so this is going to cook for a few minutes. So let me, you know, just kind of incorporate a little bit more about what we're doing next week. Is that we do a lot of cooking for people that come into Augusta during the tournament. We'll go into private homes and make their dinner. We have wonderful chefs that become part of the experience for them. So, you know, when I always have said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And when in Augusta, you need to do what we do here and what we're noted for. So a lot of our really southern ingredients are showcased during that week. And this is one of the recipes in the new book, and it's a seasonal book. So certainly this is not in the spring chapter, but it is a recipe that you can use all year long. All right, so now I'm going to add in my flour to this, and this is what will start to make this a little bit thick. You know, I have a recipe from years ago for stroganoff that you actually dredge the beef in the flour before you added it, but I really prefer this method. So it's kind of like chicken salad. We talked about that last week. There are many different recipes to do that. All right, so now I'm going to add half of my beef broth to this. And again, this, you know, when you're adding these sorts of ingredients, just be sure to go with a really good brand of your beef broth. I'm going to stir that. And I'm gonna probably have to finish some of this during the break. We're gonna be adding in our sour cream to this, Dijon mustard, Worcestershire sauce, and stir that together and add back in the beef that we've already pre-cooked and just let it simmer down and all those good flavors come together. All right, so we'll finish this during the break. And when we come back, we're gonna get started on the Choco-Latte layer cake, which if you are a chocolate lover, this may be your new favorite chocolate cake. So come back with me in just a few minutes. Vera's Corner is brought to you by TaxSlayer. You know, mushrooms are a very unique and versatile ingredient, and they can be found fresh all year. Today I'm going to share with you 5 different mushrooms and how to cook and prepare each one. White button mushrooms are probably the most available to you. They have a mild, earthy flavor and are used in a variety of ways, including stuffing. Portobello mushrooms are a large, flat mushroom with dark brown gills on the bottom. They have a concentrated mushroom flavor and a meatier texture, and they are often used as a meat substitute for vegetarian dishes. Cremini mushrooms are the baby version of portobellos, which is why they're sometimes labeled baby bellows. They're similar in size and shape to button mushrooms, but they have a rich flavor. Try these roasted or served on toast. Shiitake mushrooms are a wild mushroom with a savory, smoky flavor. Due to their texture, they should always be cooked before eating. Shiitake mushrooms are very common in Asian cuisine, as they are typically found in Japan, China, and Korea. Oyster mushrooms don't look much like regular mushrooms at all, but they still have a mild flavor, sometimes exhibiting the flavor of anise. They take on a velvety texture when cooked. Try incorporating more mushrooms into your meals. Start free today at TaxSlayer.com. Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed Vera's Corner. You know, mushrooms are one of my favorite ingredients. They're great in most all foods and salads, so I hope you'll check that out. All right, so we have already gotten some of the basic steps for this cake done during the break. We went ahead and creamed the butter and the brown sugar. And just a quick tip on brown sugar, remember that you have to pack it when you're measuring that, because it has to be packed down in the measuring cup. So we creamed that for 5 minutes. Now I've got my flour, my cake flour, and my cocoa. I'm gonna add my baking soda to the flour and my kosher salt. And then we're gonna combine the cocoa to the flour. This is where you want to be very careful. I don't need to mess up my new golf sweater by getting cocoa all over it today. But this is certainly a lot of Hershey's cocoa in this cake, which makes it a very dark chocolate cake and extremely flavorful. All right, so now I'm just gonna whisk that together just to get it incorporated, and we'll be adding that to that mixture in the mixer in just a minute. All right, the other part of this cake, because it is a latte cake, is brewed coffee and vanilla. So I'm gonna add my vanilla to my brewed coffee and stir that together. All right, and then I'm gonna get my mixer back on and start adding my eggs, 1 egg at a time, until they're incorporated. And you know, I'm so noted, people actually for years have called me the cake lady. It's like they think I have them in the trunk of my car. But baking is honestly, of all the things that I do in the kitchen, is my absolute favorite. I've always loved baking. To me, there's something almost therapeutic about it. The understanding of the batter and the chemistry is just like adding these eggs, and there's a little bit left in there. adding these eggs one at a time and getting them incorporated is so important. And then something as simple as wet to dry and how you do that alternately also affects the chemistry. All right, so remember the 2 ingredients today are butter and sour cream. So the butter went in first, now the sour cream is going in. You know, and if you're lucky enough to have a dairy in your area where you can get this, you know, straight from a dairy, that would be amazing. But again, always use the best quality in your ingredients when you're doing something that you've got this much love and time and effort, you know, involved in it. Okay, so we've got that incorporated. So now we're gonna do dry first. We're gonna start with dry and end with dry. So I'll start getting those ingredients incorporated. So this cake was the February cake of the month in my mail order company. So we had our basic tried and true cakes that we sold all year, but then we had a cake of the month for every month of the year that was specific to that month. Okay, so now I'm ready to start adding in my wet ingredients, which is the coffee. And this recipe makes a beautiful 3-layer cake. And you can get 20 to 24 slices out of this cake if you're making it for an occasion. We actually, through the years, even had brides that would choose to have a lot of VeryVera layer cakes represented on their table instead of just the one and only wedding cake. And the guests would just love it. They would come up to the table and, you know, have a little tiny sliver of every one of our cakes. All right, so let me add in some of the wet ingredients. And just look at the texture of this batter. And you'll see that a little bit more clearly when I start to divide it between the 3 pans. All right, so my pans are 9-inch layer cake pans. I've sprayed them with Baker's Joy and put the parchment circle in the bottom. So during the break, I'm going to get those evenly divided into the 3 layers. They're going to go in a 325-degree oven for about 40 minutes. And when we come back, we're going to get to look at everything we've done today and celebrate what hopefully a lot of visitors to Augusta are going to be enjoying next week. So come back with us right after the break. Welcome back, everybody. And you know, this time of year, my energy level better be way up here because we are going to be so busy next week, and we're so excited to have so many guests from all over the world in Augusta, Georgia to celebrate the golf tournament here. So these are new recipes, one of which is from the first book that we made today that will all be showcased this week. And so let's go back through what we did today. We started with the sour cream muffin. It's going to be your new go-to for bread, for meals. And just look at it's the perfect size, and it makes 24, and they literally melt in your mouth. We do a contest with our chefs during Masters, and we ask them to come up with great things to do with leftovers. So I would expect to see any leftover bread like this used for something really unique for breakfast the next morning. All right, then we went into the beef stroganoff, and this just turned out beautifully. It's a very moist and delicious meal. It is hearty, so it's really a very hearty meal to serve. We did a rice to go with it. That's a very old recipe in my family that I think you'll enjoy. It's rice, French onion soup, and beef bouillon in a can, both of them in a can that you put together, and you bake this rice. So we recommend serving it there, but you can also use egg noodles for that as well, or any of your favorite pastas to serve your beef stroganoff. And then finally, the Choco-Latte layer cake. And as you can see, it slices up beautifully. It can be garnished with a strawberry or some chocolate sauce, maybe some raspberry puree to go with that. But it's a delicious dessert, wonderful any time of year. If you're looking for a new layer cake recipe, that is also in the new book. So Vera Hospitality is what we represent ourselves as during the tournament here in Augusta. And you know, we bring in chefs from all over the country. These folks are just happy to be here with us. We do beautiful plate presentations, buffets. We have servers. A lot of professionals in Augusta have that week off and have been part of our company for a long, long time. So I hope you'll check us out and learn more about that umbrella of our company. And then the cookbook is now on the shelves. And first and foremost, I want to thank all of you that pre-ordered the books. And you can also do it as a bundle with the first book if you don't have that one. But the book is on the shelves now, so I hope you'll check it out. And you know, as I always say on the Very Vera Show, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. I'm going to be swinging through the week, getting ready for the golf tournament. So I hope you'll think about me, and I hope you come back and join me next week.